Hello, my name is Sally Winn, and I'm the Vice President of Feminists for Life. And tonight I'm here to share my story. I was raised in a very progressive, left-leaning household. My father marched for civil rights, and both of my parents were actively involved in opposing the war. Being an activist was like breathing. It was never discussed or expected, it just was. As I got older and went to school, I tended to gravitate more toward the strong feminist teachers, taking more classes from them and learning all that I could. I identified with them, seeing them as being so strong, intelligent, and competent. It's funny looking back now because I knew nothing about feminist history or really even feminism. I just knew that I wanted to be one of them, that I wasn't going to allow a door to be shut in my face simply because I was a girl. In 1990, I headed off to college, and it was like a whole new world. There was a new war to oppose, fascinating classes to take, and all sorts of things that I could get involved with. I mean, 3 of my 4 grandparents were professors. My dad has 4 master's degrees and his doctorate. I practically grew up on campuses across the country. I was finally in my element. Well, all of these horizon-broadening experiences came to a screeching halt one morning my junior year. Despite my faithful attempts to avoid it, I became pregnant. I knew precisely when it had happened, the one and only time there had been a protection malfunction. But that one brief moment in time redefined me. Stunned and panicked, I did all we could do at that time, got out the phone book, and I started calling different offices on campus. When I called to inquire about where I might live should I have the child, I was told there was no family housing available to undergraduates. I mean, it made sense. I'd never seen anyone my age pregnant on campus. Assuming I lived in an apartment off campus, which, as you know, isn't exactly conducive to raising an infant, I was still left with the issue of what I would do with a kid while I was in classes. I found and called the daycare center on campus, and fortunately the woman said, yes, there was, in fact, daycare available on campus, on a limited basis. Enrollment went first to the tenured professors, then those on the tenure track as if they have time to get pregnant, then associate and adjunct professors, then graduate students, and then dangling at the bottom of the food chain were undergraduate students. Unfortunately, there was no room available at that time, but I was free to leave my name on a waiting list. I remember thinking, what? Well, what am I supposed to do with a kid until then? Walk around with it in my backpack? As for daycare off campus, I found very few were willing to take newborns, and those who did were cost prohibitive on a student's budget. Then there was the cost of the delivery. I really didn't want to think about it, but I did know that it had to get out of me somehow. It turns out that there was no maternity coverage in my student health care. Some schools will offer abortion coverage in their health care. In fact, some even have a separate fund where you can apply to get help with an abortion. But very few will pay a dime for delivery and postnatal care. There I was, a pregnant 21-year-old student, facing the facts of no place to live, no place to leave a child while in class, and no help in paying for delivery from my university health care. I placed more calls that week than any week of my life. At any time, it would have been far easier to make that one phone call, schedule that one appointment, and be rid of the whole thing. As you might have guessed, I was adamantly pro-choice when I became pregnant, as in card-carrying bumper sticker on the car pro-choice, because I drank the Kool-Aid, and that's what real feminists believed, or so I thought. And I have to tell you, the decision I made was embarrassingly flippant. I didn't weigh the morality of the issue. I wasn't in that place in my life. I didn't think about slogans or political stances. There was no bumper sticker that was going to make the decision for me. I did what most anyone my age and my position would do. I looked at my own survival. I took a mental inventory of what kind of financial resources and emotional support I had. I honestly felt like all of my plans for the future, every goal my parents had for me, they were all derailed with that little pink plus sign on the pregnancy test. So I transferred to a smaller campus in the university system to be closer to family. We moved into an apartment that was large enough for a child. I did a little digging and I found out that I could be covered under family health insurance. Essentially, I found that I really didn't have a compelling reason to terminate the pregnancy. Well, that lack of a compelling reason has a name. Her name is Emily, and she just finished her first semester of college. Yes, I was able to have her without relying on the school's programs, but look at the statistic. So many other students are not that fortunate. And even with the larger issues of housing, daycare, and maternity coverage being addressed, you're still left with parking spaces so far from campus, and desks that don't even begin to accommodate a pregnant woman's figure. Student parents are often forced to change diapers on bathroom floors, or find privacy to nurse in bathroom stalls. When a woman becomes pregnant on campus, she looks around and she sees there are no resources, there's no support, and there are no examples to look up to. Trust me when I say it really seems like there is no choice. Over the next few years and subsequent pregnancy, and thanks to your pregnancy week by week, I slowly realized that I was being inconsistent in my views. I realized abortion is a huge civil rights issue, probably the largest in my day. It was about subjugating an entire class of people and about forcing women to become male models. I immediately knew that I wanted to be a part of changing that. I was in the process of writing a letter to the DNC in 1996 to see if they would change the abortion plank in the party platform, and it was later turned into an article called The Pro-Life View from the Left. In that letter, I pushed for affordable health care, housing, and daycare for pregnant and parenting women. I shared it with a group of friends online in a little group called Left Out, and one of them said to me, that sounds like Feminists for Life. I found my home, and here I am, 16 years later. I am so proud to work for an organization that believes women deserve better than abortion. And I will continue to work so no woman has to feel forced to choose between her future or her Emily.